Well, here we are.
Thanks for joining, everybody. My name's Michael.
My name is Rameen.
My name's Molly.
And we're going to talk about music from 1993. So we're going to be talking about music from 1993. As we go through these albums, for you and for any of you watching, keep in mind what you think might be the best selling, the most award-winning, the most listened to, or just generally everyone's favorites albums from the year, because there's a quiz at the end. Starting with new albums from 1993. We've already covered this, 10,000 Maniacs album MTV Unplugged. Molly and I gave it an 85%. Also, we've got Ace of Base, The Sign, which of course Molly and I have already reviewed, but it includes All That She Wants, Don't Turn Around, and The Sign, which are not the best songs on the album.
Yeah, what did we decide was the best one? That weird one?
Waiting for Magic.
Yeah,
it's the best
amazing
song. I mean, since you weren't here for this, do you have anything that you really need to say about any of these?
I'm curious to see what the score is since it had All That Molly Wanted on it, apparently.
71%.
Wow, then what hope do any of the rest of us have?
It's a typical pop album, and they're gunning just for the singles, but Molly and I agreed that the reggae sound of so many of these songs doesn't really hold up super well.
But the Eurotrash songs super duper hold up.
Yes, they do. Aerosmith, Get a Grip.
Wow, that is an album cover.
Sure is. It includes Living on the Edge, classic song.
Okay.
Crying.
With the music video, with that is like pornographic.
With Alicia Silverstone, I think?
Yes.
And Crazy, which also has
a pornographic music video with Alicia Silverstone.
And also Liv Tyler.
Yeah, wait, which one? Because like there's one where they're making out on the motorcycle.
I think Crazy's the one with the two girls, and they're just like doing like girls just want to have fun type stuff.
And Crying is the making out on the motorcycle one.
I think,
okay.
If I remember. It's been so long since I've seen either of them.
I remember having like a sexual awakening watching that music video, being like, I'm having feelings in my body that I have never felt before while I watch Alicia Silverstone make out with this guy on a motorcycle.
Was it fantasy fulfillment as in replacing yourself as Alicia Silverstone or as the guy? Or the motorcycle?
And I think Crying's the one that ends with her bungee jumping, but it looks like she's on a bridge and it looks like she's gonna jump in off herself. But then the guy is going to stop her, but then she jumps off and then she's on a bungee cord and then she's like at the end.
I don't remember that.
Oh, it's at the end of one of the two of them. Better Than Ezra's album, Deluxe.
Oh, does this have Desperately Wanting and the other one? Good.
And it's good living with you. Wow.
Yeah.
It's a great song.
So good.
It is good.
That is one of the alternative rock songs that I was very into. And I think holds up.
Yeah.
And Desperately Wanting is not on this album.
I don't know that song.
That one definitely holds up. No, this doesn't have Desperately Wanting on
Okay.
it.
I don't know that song anyway. Bikini Kill,
Hell yeah.
Pussy Whipped, which includes Rebel Girl. Rebel
Yes.
Girl. Rebel Girl.
That
Great
song is like one of the great girl anthems ever. I wanna be her best friend, yeah.
Billy Joel, River of Dreams, which of course includes the River of Dreams, which looking back at it now, was Billy Joel trying to do the Paul Simon
Graceland
thing?
I wouldn't put it past him, although this is what, like a good decade later.
Yeah. I wonder if he had internalized that and was intentionally doing it or unintentionally doing it. River of Dreams is a cheesy song. It's fine.
It is.
It's fine, but it's cheesy. But actually really good Billy Joel song, Lullaby, Goodnight My Angel. It's a beautiful song.
Yes, it is.
Bjork's album debut, which Ramin and I already viewed. This includes Human Behavior, Venus as a Boy, and Come to Me, which is one of the most underrated Bjork songs. Ramin and I gave this an 83%. Breeders, Last Splash.
Oh, man.
Of course, everyone who knows anything about them knows Cannonball. Yeah, it's definitely the best song on the album, but the rest of the album is pretty good and definitely worth listening to.
Yeah, the Kim Deal of it all, man.
Yeah, I reviewed this, gave it an 82%. Bryan Adams, So Far So Good.
Okay, I get Bryan Adams mixed up with...
Ryan Adams.
Yes.
Yes.
Bryan Adams is like the guy with the scratchy voice, right?
Yes, and it is on full display in the songs that we know from this album. Cuts like a knife, and Please Forgive Me, and Everything I Do.
Oh, isn't that
Classic.
also in Robin Hood? Or,
Yes.
Okay.
And
Prince of Thieves.
Straight from the Heart, and the worst of them all for Love, because it has two other scratchy voice guys, Rod Stewart and Sting, It's a trio between the
Oh
three of
God.
them.
Oh my
The
god.
trifecta.
Michael, you should like get a job as a Bryan Adams impersonator. You're doing very good. I would like to hear more. I want a full-length Bryan Adams.
I probably have to do it like a fifth down, though. Because he also sings quite high.
Apparently, vocal notes were so sexy in the 90s.
Celine Dion, The Color of My Love.
I listened to this on the way here, the whole thing.
Uh-huh.
I actually was surprised at how much I liked it. It's not my favorite album ever of all time. Not even my favorite Celine Dion album ever of all time. But what I found interesting was this was not her first English album, but it was one of the first.
It's
right?
either 2 or 3, yeah.
Yeah. And what I found interesting was the lead single off this album is like one of the most Celine Dion songs of all time. The Power of Love, when people ask you what does Celine Dion sound like, that's probably one of the first songs you'll play for them.
Yeah.
But this period of the 90s top 40 was brought to you by Babyface.
Oh,
Because you'll see this later too when we talk about Toni Braxton and others too. Babyface is all over this year, but especially this album. This album was Celine's producers clearly trying to dip her toe in like pop R&B land, which wasn't really what she ever was known for, and probably with good reason. I don't love it when she does it, but it was just different enough from what I'm used to in that genre that while I was listening to it in the car, I kind of went, huh. This album is a lot like, frankly, most pop albums, where the lead singles are all great, and then everything else quickly sort of devolves into filler.
Yep.
I want to talk about her legs in this album.
Right?
Why has my leg never made that shape in my entire life? Look at how elegant that is.
The only other thing I really have to say about her is there was a period in my life when liking Celine Dion was not cool, and I refused. And I feel like I've crossed that bridge, and I'm now at a point where I can accept that I enjoy some Celine Dion. She's not my favorite, but no one can deny that the woman has pipes.
Right.
Right?
Well, her singing was so good. And then when the next album came out, she had some really huge hits that, like, I don't think anybody was pretending like they didn't like. Because You Loved Me.
Because
Yes.
you
Like the quintessential Mother's Day
Yeah.
song.
Cranberries. The three of us already reviewed this. But for anyone watching, this includes Linger and Dreams as the 2 big singles, but there's some other great songs on there too. We gave it an 87%. Collective Soul, Hints and Allegations and Things Left Unsaid, which includes Shine, which is a great song, and I don't care if it's cheesy.
Yeah, this is when you do start to have a lot of rock bands, like alternative bands. You start to get the feeding frenzy among the record companies. And so bands like Collective Soul that I think cool people nowadays would say were not cool, but like if they said that they weren't jamming out to this back then, they're lying.
I love Shine, and I think it's a great song, but I would put on par with it Dolly Parton's cover of it, which is also really good.
What?
You haven't heard that before? Oh, it's incredible. Counting Crows, August and Everything After, one of Molly's favorite albums. She reviewed this.
I still stand by this album forever.
This includes Mr. Jones, which is a great song,
Mr. Jones and me,
and Round Here, which I hate.
round here.
Molly gave this album a 90. Crash Test Dummies, God Shuffled His Feet, which includes
That is not a
This is
real
like-
song.
I feel
You're
like-
lying.
I feel like this is the one-hit wonder of the decade, actually. They had that Bananas music video. The song is so weird, and it was just irresistible to people because of how bizarre it was.
His hair had turned from black into bright white.
And like, what does that even mean?
Also, look at this album art.
I was going to say, this is quite the album cover.
Yeah, it's something. Cypress Hill, Black Sunday, which includes Insane in the Brain.
Insane in the Membrane.
Yeah.
That's one of those songs that has like that really good like like sound effect sample, that whistling. Yeah.
That like almost horse whinny whistly thing. Yeah.
I love that. Such a like 90s hip hop sonority.
Deep Blue Something, 11th song.
Oh, of course. Say, well, that's one thing we got. Yeah. A breakup song. You know, and I think people listen to it and they don't realize, like, because it's kind of a happy, jaunty song, but it's like, it's definitely a breakup song.
He's trying to not break up.
Yes.
But it's gonna happen because the only thing they got
That is Breakfast at Tiffany's.
they liked a movie.
We both kind of liked it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
De La Soul, Balloon Mind State, incredible album. I don't know enough about hip hop to say much more about it than that.
We got really into De La Soul a couple albums ago.
Their first album, I think, is one of my favorite hip hop albums. Dolly Parton, Slow Dancing with the Moon. I reviewed this one, and it's not very good. I gave it a 59%.
Yeah, I listened to this in the car, and it sort of felt Like, I don't know how to put this nicely. It felt like Dolly's over the hill now.
But she has good albums after this.
She is America's best person,
Yeah.
right? But like
She
that
is.
doesn't mean she's perfect.
No.
Right.
Emmylou Harris, Cowgirl's Prayer. I love this album. I reviewed this in the same video in which I reviewed the Dolly album. This includes A Ways to Go, which is constantly stuck in my head. Prayer in Open D.
I love the Prayer in Open D.
One of the few songs that Emmylou Harris wrote herself. And Ballad of a Runaway Horse, which is a Leonard Cohen cover. Molly and I were just talking about Leonard Cohen covers. I gave this album a 78%. Garth Brooks, In Pieces.
People who were into country in the 90s probably could say a lot about this album because he was the highest money-making country artist probably since Dolly Parton, you know?
Yeah. The Heartbreakers and Tom Petty's Greatest Hits, which does have their greatest hits. Refugee, Don't Come Around Here No More.
Don't come around here no more.
I Won't Back Down, which is the best of this bunch.
Won't back down.
I feel like this is probably an album that was like frequently on in my household growing up because I don't think we were listening to individual Tom Petty albums because I know that I was hearing all of these on one. Free falling.
And Into the Great Wide Open. Oh, and of course, Mary Jane's Last Dance, which is the one that I really
But
don't
that
like.
was that an original song for this album?
Maybe.
Because I know that there was like a music video for that like in
Yeah.
the 90s.
Yeah.
That was a later song.
Janet Jackson, Janet, which includes the incredible That's the Way Love Goes.
Man.
This is the like sexy Janet album.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, there are many, but
I mean,
this
look
is
how
kind of
good
the
she
first.
looks on that cover.
Joey Lawrence had an album
Whoa!
of, I think, all original songs that, I don't know if he wrote them himself, but they're not covers.
I think he's living up to his heartthrob status on the cover of that album.
I mean-
he looks good up
Yeah.
there.
That vest is silly, though.
It is so silly, but you know what? It's showing off the goods, and that's
Yeah.
kind of all that matters.
Yeah. I remember when, like, heartthrob guys were wearing those necklaces with, like, the arrowheads and stuff on them.
It's just to draw the eye down, right? To the six-pack abs and the perfect pecs. Away from the puppy dog eyes and the come hither expression. Sorry, am I overanalyzing the photo? Are we talking about music?
Rameen and I already talked about Kate Bush's The Red Shoes. This album includes Moments of Pleasure, Why Should I Love You? Rameen and I gave it a 76%.
I thought you were going to say, and the song 76%.
Lenny Kravitz's album, Are You Gonna Go My Way? Which surprisingly includes the song Are You Gonna Go My Way?
Which was like a great guitar anthem. There's not much to the song. It's really just the jam and the guitar riff.
It's 30 seconds of song repeated for a full 3 minutes. Molly and I already talked about Liz Phair's Exile in Guyville. Includes the song 6'1", Never Said, Fucking Run, and Flower Song. We gave this album a 91%. This is probably my favorite album. Well, no, it's not. It's probably my number 2.
This is one album that like I have been continuing to listen to since we reviewed it. It's like I cannot quit her.
It's so fucking good.
Yeah.
Mariah Carey, Music Box.
Oh, man.
Now for something completely different.
A bit, yeah, it's a bit different. It's Ballads, the album. Includes Dream Lover, which is incredible,
Such a great song.
which is not a ballad, and it's one of the 3 songs that are not ballads.
That is one of the all-time great Mariah Carey songs,
Yeah.
though.
And Hero is also a great song. Most of the rest of the album sounds almost exactly like Hero. Molly and I gave it a 72%. Meatloaf, Bat Out of Hell 2, Back Into Hell.
Which looks like a
man.
D&D book cover.
I name dropped Meatloaf a minute ago,
Yeah.
not realizing that Meatloaf was going to come emerging like the eponymous bat out of hell.
And of course, this includes I'd Do Anything for Love, but I won't do that.
Man, you can say that these Meatloaf songs are like bloated pieces of crap, and you wouldn't be wrong, but like they are irresistible bloated pieces of crap.
Although this is one song that the radio edit is far superior
Oh,
to the
really?
album version of the song, because the album has even more bloat.
What an insane song title and like song concept.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, the that is never like revealed.
It actually kind of is. People say that it's not, but in the part where they're duetting, one of her last lines is, sooner or later, you'll be screwing around. And then he says, I won't do that.
Are you mixing this up with Paradise by the Dashboard Light where he sings the duet with the lady?
No. Moving on, Melissa Etheridge, Yes, I Am. It's not her debut. It does have I'm the Only
Yes.
One and Come to My Window.
2 great lesbian anthems.
Probably her 2 best songs. I think I typically prefer I'm the Only One, because it's like,
More bluesy.
it's impressive how well she sings it too. It sustains a higher belt for longer, and Come to My Window is just like little things that she's throwing out there, you know? But they're both great songs. Michelle Ndego Cello, Plantation Lullabies. Most of this album is really, really sad, but there's the incredible If That's Your Boyfriend, He Wasn't Last Night, which is a great song. Naughty by Nature, 1993.
I feel like this is an album I'm supposed to know, but I don't.
Well, you know the song, Hip Hop Hooray.
Oh, that's
oh.
This is the show in which Molly puts the song with the legendary hip hop collective that like she always was aware existed but didn't know what song they sang, and now she's like connecting the dots.
Yeah. Nirvana's In Utero, which Molly and I already reviewed. This includes Heart-Shaped Box, Rape Me, All Apologies. We gave it an 89%.
I'm still obsessed with the album cover.
It's a great album.
It's so good.
Pearl Jam Versus. Molly and I also reviewed this.
It's really not a dog, is it?
No, it's definitely not a dog. But it includes Daughter and Dissident. Probably the biggest two songs from this album, but not the best, because the best is Elderly Woman Beyond the Counter.
What dog has a snout like that?
Well, you know, a young girl who is listening to Pearl Jam might ask that question and might have just decided it didn't matter.
We gave it a 77%. PJ Harvey's Rid of Me, another fantastic album, includes Man Size and 50-Foot Queenie. I reviewed this myself, gave it an 82%. Radiohead's Pablo Honey, another album that Molly and I reviewed together.
Classic.
This includes Ripcord, Anyone Can Play Guitar, and of course, Creep. We gave it a 78%. Raven Simonet, Here's to New Dreams. Look at that photo of her.
Oh my god, she's so little.
Yeah, wearing giant shoes. I love it.
And this would be like before her Disney days, because she was on the Cosby Show.
RuPaul, Supermodel of the World, which includes Supermodel, You Better Work.
What else does it include, Michael?
Nothing good.
Was this before or after the RuPaul talk show on television?
This was, I think this led to the RuPaul talk show.
Okay.
As the song says,
Yeah.
her fashion career took
Work, cover girl.
A much better album, Salt and Pepper, Very Necessary.
Man.
Includes What a Man with
What a Man.
with In Vogue. Shoop, which is incredible.
What a Man, which had the music video with the gratuitous male bodies on it that was like totally radical at the time, because a lot of the hip hop videos at the time were
gratuitous female nudity.
exactly. And so they sort of flipped that on its head, fully objectifying these male bodies in the very same way. It's fun and they're winking at you, but they're also like, yeah, why shouldn't we?
Rameen and I already reviewed Sarah McLachlan's Fumbling Towards Ecstasy, which is one of my favorite albums of all time. It includes Possession, Plenty, Circle, and Ice as probably the 4 best songs. Rameen and I gave this an 87%. Shaquille O'Neal, Shaq Diesel.
Oh my god.
No, we don't. No, we don't. We don't got that.
Sheryl Crow's Tuesday Night Music Club. Molly, Christopher, and I already reviewed Tuesday Night Music Club. This includes Strong Enough, fantastic song, Can't Cry Anymore, All I Wanna Do. We gave it an 85%. Smashing Pumpkins' Siamese Dream, which Molly and I also reviewed. This includes Cherub Rock, Today, and Disarm. We gave this an 85%.
This album is dark.
It is, but it's so good.
I mean, almost all grunge albums are dark. Snoop Doggy Dogg, Doggy Style.
But this has gin and juice on it,
does have
right?
gin and juice,
Oh,
yeah.
what a classic.
Sting, 10 Summoner's Tales.
I don't know this.
You do, because it has If I Ever Lose My Faith in You and Fields of Gold, which is actually a beautiful
Fields
song.
of Gold.
I like Fields of Gold.
So yeah, it's a beautiful song. I don't really like Sting singing it, but it's a beautiful song.
That album title is kind of dumb, though.
Oh,
I'm
it's
sorry.
so
kind
camp.
of dumb.
It's so interesting because like the Police, they were such a cool, edgy band, and then Sting's solo work is so like
Yeah.
poppy and boring, and
Toni Braxton's debut album, Eponymous.
man, she looks so good on that cover.
Yeah. This includes Just Another Sad Love Song and Breathe Again.
That song, yes.
And You Mean the World
Oh.
to Me. I don't
listened
remember.
to this on the way here. Again, brought to you by Babyface.
Yeah, all
Yes.
3 of those songs, I think. I know at least You Mean the World to Me is a Babyface song. I think the
Yes.
other 2 are as well.
And much like most pop music of this time, again, the singles are all great and the rest of the album very quickly falls off. But one thing I was interested in listening to this is like, I feel like everyone has 2 or 3 vocal tics they use when they need to impersonate Toni Braxton. But actually, when you listen through, you realize, wow, she has way more than just those 2 notes.
My favorite one is in Breathe Again. And I can't stop thinking about. It's so good. I love it.
There's also like a lot of moments of like whisper singing, but she
Yes.
somehow, it's like angry whisper singing. I'm doing it very badly,
Yeah.
but
She does it and sounds cool doing it.
yes. The other interesting thing I experienced listening to this album is we tend to think of Toni Braxton as like very light rock R&B,
Yeah.
right? Very laid back. But when you actually pay attention to what she's doing vocally, she's giving a lot of energy.
Oh, yeah.
Another Sad Love Song is the first track. And I was like, oh, I love this. It's such an easygoing song. But if you listen carefully, she gives at least 3 contralto growls
Yes.
in the first verse. We haven't even gotten into the refrain yet. She's like,
It's so rare to have a voice like that in the pop music world. There just aren't that many contralto voices that are raised to this level of pop music. I mean, it's like her, Cher, and like who else?
Well, a lot of solo female pop music sits in that range.
That doesn't have that dark.
Yeah, Britney Spears, all of her songs have low Fs all over the place.
Yeah, but
and
that's
stuff.
not where her voice lives.
No, it's not.
But this,
That's
is
where her
it's
lives.
her natural
Yeah.
sort of dark contralto voice. It's so luscious and beautiful, and it
Yes.
is reminiscent of Cher.
UB40, Promises and
Oh, does
Lies.
this have red wine? Oh.
Ah,
Yes.
Ugh.
Red wine's probably earlier, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Classical music from 1993. Stockhausen's Helicopter Strike Quartet. Hugely important piece of music that no one actually really likes, but...
Or like, is it even possible to listen to it? It's kind of one of those self-destructing
Yeah.
pieces of art, right?
Well, it's been performed. Like,
Yeah.
this is a performance of it.
But like also like, can you hear a string quartet that's in a helicopter?
It's part of one of his operas.
Okay.
It's part of Mittwoch aus Licht. And it has been staged once, including the helicopter quartet.
Is it been recorded? Like, how does the helicopter quartet even work?
I-
Or is it like I'm saying, like it's just this abstract concept, and so the impossibility of it is part of the art?
Recordings of it exist. I've seen video recordings of it too.
Yeah.
That, you know, a different camera in each helicopter and
Okay.
also one on the ground looking at all of them.
So it requires amplification and stuff.
Also, more Stockhausen, Dienstag aus Licht, out of his cycle of operas that are about his life, mythologized versions of his life.
Yeah, you know, I get why Stockhausen is important, but it is kind of, you know, the joke writes itself.
Yeah. Moving on to the Grammys. We are collaborating on this, so we're not keeping score. Who won Best R&B Vocal Performance Female?
They almost certainly gave it to Aretha Franklin.
What do you think, Ramin?
I think I'm wrong, but Toni Braxton is my guess.
That's correct.
Wow, they love contralto.
Mm-hmm.
The novelty of a dark, low women's voice.
Best Alternative Music Album.
I vote Nirvana. They were just so popular.
Yeah, although would these Grammys have taken place after Kurt Cobain died, in which
No.
case it definitely
Oh.
went to Nirvana.
These Grammys are in the middle of 93, so
Yeah.
it's not including all music from 93.
Although I bet you wouldn't have included Zooropa if it wasn't.
It's one of the ones that was nominated.
And Belly, which was that came up and I was like, none of us have heard of that. Michael's literally never talked about it before. He's putting it up here.
Because it's one of the ones that was nominated. These are the 5 that were nominated.
It's probably Nirvana. They fucking love you too, man. The Grammys
Yeah.
love you too. U2 could not make an album that doesn't win. U2, Eric Clapton.
Best Rock Song, which of these?
I bet they gave it to Meatloaf, actually. No! What do you think?
I was actually leaning toward Meatloaf too.
You're a Grammy voter and you're like, well, I'm voting for the biggest rock song.
I voted for the worst.
Oh, that's right. Runaway Train was like a whole moment.
Best Pop Music Vocal Performance.
Not Aaron
Male.
Neville. I'm sorry. No. Please don't tell me they gave it to Aaron Neville.
Oh, they probably did.
Even if it was true.
Or Rod Stewart.
Ugh.
Or Sting.
I think they would
God.
give the Grammys love Sting.
These are, and Billy Joel. Like, this is like a Grammy voter fever dream right here, this list.
No, Billy Joel hasn't won that many Grammys, really.
No.
He's nominated a lot, but...
Yeah.
They floated away on that river of
They do.
dreams.
Like, the thing about Aaron Neville and Billy Joel and Rod Stewart is like, they love a stalwart person from the past who is like re-emerging with new material.
I vote Sting.
I think it's Billy Joel.
That's Sting.
Oh, okay.
You lost your faith in Sting.
Yeah, you bet I did.
Female, what are we thinking?
Didn't we last year? Didn't Katie Lang was like the dark horse of the
Oh,
race?
Whitney Houston, I Will Always Love You. There's no other choice.
Oh, that's a good point, except that they hate black people.
But
I
that
just-
song was originally written by a white person.
I just remember how Katie Lang took over when we did this game the last time.
Yeah.
Also, Sean Colvin is like another one of those like weird ones that they're
But
like,
I
well,
don't-
we're not gonna vote for the black people when Sean Colvin is right there.
I don't remember that song. I remember her later stuff, like
Yeah.
Sunny Came Home, which was a couple years after this.
The obvious choice is I Will Always Love You. Other obvious choice is Dream Lover, right? Like, I didn't realize those two songs are the same year.
Whitney Houston was 92, but it was later 92, so it goes in the 93 Grammys.
Yeah, that's always confusing.
Yeah.
But like Dream Lover is such an elite pop song. And then you've got Tina Turner in there who like they just love.
But what are you voting for
I
this?
think it's Whitney Houston.
You're both right. You're both pretty. Song of the Year.
Was this before or after Beauty and the Beast broke the seal
This is
on
after.
their animated? Okay.
Yeah, A Whole New World is a really strong contender.
I'm leaning to A Whole New World.
But Harvest Moon is a dark horse because, again,
They love Neil Young.
they love stuff like that.
The old guard.
war horses.
Yeah, the old guard.
And Harvest Moon is one of my favorite songs ever. Song awards the songwriting, record awards
The performance.
the performance and like
And
putting
the-
it
yep.
together and
Yep.
everything. Harvest Moon is not special, but that's kind of the beauty of it. But are they thinking that hard? No, they're just looking at the list and going, I really like Billy Joel, River of Dreams.
Are you thinking too hard?
I probably am. It's probably A Whole New World.
It is. Album of the Year.
Oh, Bodyguard soundtrack. Fuck. Yeah, I don't think they would give it to the album overall, even if the
Because
songs
it's actually pretty terrible, other than 4 of the 5 Whitney songs.
And then now we have an album that Michael didn't mention.
Kamakiriad.
Because it's from 92.
I think it's River of Dreams.
I'm leaning towards Sting, actually.
I know, I keep going for Billy Joel.
It's Whitney.
It was Whitney.
That song was that big.
Whitney Houston is like the woman who broke the Grammys racism.
Record of
Thanks,
the Year.
Whitney Houston. There's no more racism now.
Yeah.
I think I Will Always Love You. I'm just, you know what? It's already swept a little bit.
I would be surprised if it wasn't always I Will Always Love You.
Yeah, she took the big 3. Best-selling albums of 93.
Okay, here we go. Now let's get to...
So, for this, there's so many on here. I'm just going to
The
delete...
top 34 best-selling albums.
No, this is all the albums. All the ones that we talked about. I'm just going to delete things from this if it's not on there.
Best selling. Garth Brooks actually is a really good contender for best selling. He's my first guess.
Garth is on the list.
I think Mariah Carey, Music Box.
It's a good guess.
That also is on the list.
Okay. The 10,000 Maniacs MTV Unplugged. That album had legs.
Not in the top 10.
Okay.
Billy Joel, River of Dreams.
No, it is not one of them.
Ace of Base.
Yes. That was one of the top 10 that year.
Bryan Adams. So far, so good. Those white ladies love that man.
Yeah, they really do.
Yep, they do.
Then another thing that white people like is Nirvana.
Not top 10 though.
Oh.
White ladies also love Celine Dion.
Yeah.
The Colour of My Louvre.
They do.
Wow. Okay, I would not have guessed that.
You clearly don't have Rameen's mom or my mom.
No. No, my mom would have been listening to Emmylou Harris. Yeah, let's go with Janet Jackson.
I don't think so.
Oh, but yes.
This one's jumping out at me. Sheryl Crow, Tuesday Night Music Club. It's easy listening.
It did do quite well, but not top 10.
Okay.
That was an album that I feel like it cooked for a long time.
Yeah.
But the first year, because you said this is just in that year.
Yeah, and because All I Want to Do was like one of her last singles. You've got 6 out of the 10 on the list already. Only 4 left.
I'm going to go with the Cranberries. It's going to hit delete.
Yes, I sure am.
I vote for Toni Braxton. That album was pretty big when
You know,
it
I
came out.
almost said that just now. I hope you're not right.
Why? You're
Even though Michael
collaborating.
said we're collaborating.
Rameen is right. You two are doing collectively very well, though.
Because it was everywhere and like so inescapable for like most of the 90s and into the 2000s, I'm going to say Lenny Kravitz.
Actually, no.
People love a greatest hits album, so I'm going with the Heartbreakers and
That's a
Tom
good
Petty.
guess. I almost guessed that early and then I thought better of it, but I think you might be right.
Yeah.
Damn. It's not rock albums. They're not performing right now. But I don't think it's hip hop either. Although Snoop Dogg was huge. I mean, like he got so huge so fast. And Dolly Parton could sell herself singing the phone book. It might be Dolly Parton. Deleted. Okay.
Aerosmith.
You know, I should have guessed that.
Yep.
Snoop Dogg.
Not Snoop Dogg.
Sting.
This last one's the hardest one of these 10.
Is it like a dark horse? Is it something we wouldn't have guessed?
I don't think it's anything you wouldn't have guessed.
Okay. It just occurred to me. Meatloaf.
That's it.
Do not underestimate the power of Meatloaf.
These are the top 30 Billboard Hot 100 songs.
Man. So this is radio play.
Whitney Houston, I Will Always Love You.
Definitely Whitney Houston, I Will
Let's
Always
just
Love
put
You.
the both Whitney Houstons, 1 and 2.
But put
Why not?
Whitney Houston, I Will Always Love You as number 1.
Yes.
Well, that's where it is.
I think Dream Lover.
Dream Lover was number 8.
I still think Whitney's I Have Nothing is in
Yeah,
there
no, I
too.
think you're probably right. I don't think it's up near I Will Always Love You, though. Nothing touches that song.
I Have Nothing is not on there.
Oh!
That was number 30
Wow.
of the top 30. It's still top 30 of the year.
Okay, I want to say Nothing But a G Thing.
Nothing But a G Thing was number 11, so it did not make top 10.
A Whole New World. I'm taking a
Yeah.
return.
Whole New World was number 18.
I think Janet Jackson, That's the Way Love Goes.
Janet was number 4, though.
I think we need to consider that Boyz II Men is still a huge phenomenon, and I would say In the Still of the Night.
They were number 12.
Oh,
Wow.
I want Rump Shaker.
Rump Shaker is on there.
Hell yeah, it is.
Number 9.
That's the kind of song that like people's aunt like to dance to at the wedding.
Yeah.
You know?
It's a very big dichotomy on this list between mom rock and everything else.
Yeah.
But like, do not dismiss the power of mom rock.
Mm-hmm.
Like Bryan Adams, man.
Just because I remember hearing way too much of it, the UB40 song, Can't Help
Yeah.
Falling in Love. It was everywhere. It was fucking inescapable.
Sure was.
It's on there?
Yeah.
It's above Boyz II Men.
No.
Fuck everyone.
I also think Soul Asylum won a Grammy, and that song was also inescapable.
Soul Asylum. That was number 22.
Oh.
My age. Okay, this is probably a no. But I'm guessing SWV right here only
You kept
because
saying you didn't think they were going to be on
I
there.
didn't, but this is not going the way I expected. And it samples a Michael Jackson song. So that's why I
Okay.
think it's top 10.
Right here was number 29.
Okay. I think the Wash FM has a lot of power. And you know what I heard on Wash FM? River of Dreams.
That was number 26.
Downstream.
Ooh. Oh, you know what we don't have that you should guess? Whoomp, there it is.
Oh, I forgot that's on there. Sure. Whoop, there it is. And if it's wrong, I'm going to laugh at you, Molly.
Well, Rameen, that was number 2.
Who's laughing now?
How about Robin S., Show Me Love?
That was number 17.
There's only one Show Me Love.
Words
in my
are
heart.
so easy to say.
Now that like a bunch of stuff has been eliminated from this list, you know what I feel like is a beat that like was just constant throughout like the second half of the 90s was Rhythm is a Dancer.
See, to me, that was outside of the top 10. I feel like that was probably top 10 of the dance charts,
No, it never went away.
but not the Hot 100.
Are you
That
saying
was-
Rhythm is not in fact a dancer?
That was number
You're saying it's
25.
more a dancer than anything else. Okay, that's fine. I can live with that.
I think Proclaimers, I would walk 500.
Oh,
White people
I
love
should've
laughing at that
guessed
shit.
that. You're right.
That was number 27.
Spin Doctors,
you're
put those
Capricorn.
two princes up there, make them kiss.
You know, I just don't feel like it goes all the way up there, but maybe it does. Maybe
They were
it does.
28.
28?
Baby. Just go ahead.
Okay, so
now.
it's like all these songs that we don't know. What about the other Janet Jackson song?
The other Yanette was...
If I don't think that was that big. Here's the thing. I just can't reconcile a world where one of those Whitney songs would be on here and not both, but both Janet songs would be. I can't reconcile that.
That was 19.
Yeah.
Do you want to give up?
No, because you know what? That Dazzy Ducks song was kind of a jam.
That was 16.
This is a long shot, and I think I'm wrong, but Don't Walk Away was kind of everywhere at a moment. Don't walk away, boy. Jade.
I can live with that.
That was 13.
Teens love a super explicit slow jam, so I'm gonna go with Freak Me. Yes!
Number 5.
I'm picking Shay, If I Ever Fall in Love. Look at that.
I want another explicit slow jam, Knockin' to Boots.
No.
The only other one of these I've even heard before is I'm So Into You by SWV.
No. There's one left.
Expose.
Ah,
Wow, the only SWV song is the one I don't know.
This is what our channel, with our reviews, voted for our top 15 albums of the year by our scores.
okay.
By the three of
Oh,
us.
a three-way tie for number 6.
Yeah. Kate was 15. Pearl Jam was 14. Radiohead was 12. Tied with Emmylou. PJ for 10. Breeders tied with that for 10. Bjork for 9.
My queen gets her own slot.
Three-way tie for number 6. Siamese Dream, Tuesday Night Music Club,
Oh, should've been
and MTV Unplugged. Number 4, tie for Fumbling Towards Ecstasy, and Everybody Else Is Doing It, So Why Can't We. Number 3, In Utero.
Interesting.
Number 2, Counting Crows. And number 1, Liz Phair.
We have to explain, like, this is so distorted because it's like, only one of us voted for Counting Crows. Only one of us voted for a bunch of the other ones. So It's
we do our best. We do our best.
It's not a very mathematical ranking.
No, and this certainly would not be my list. Now, the last thing.
Okay.
I've had our audience on this channel vote on things. So, what I would like you to do, the two of you, pick ones that you would like to see as the number one. You can pick one or two or three. And pick ones that you would not be surprised if the audience voted as number one.
Mariah Carey. That's my pick.
That's what you want to win, or?
That's what I want to win.
Okay. What do you think the audience voted for?
What I would like to see, obviously the Liz Phair. That album has really stuck with me. If I'm thinking of who maybe the broader YouTube audience is, I'm thinking Smashing Pumpkins is going to be really high.
Okay. Here's what made it to the next round, and then you can pick again from this round.
Okay, they are not gay.
Nope.
We love you even if you're straight. I mean, I'm straight, so.
Not that there's anything wrong with
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Now pick a favorite and or what you think made it to the next round.
I think the audience will pick Nirvana because it's Nirvana. I would probably pick Cranberries.
They're definitely rock people. If Björk is on there, they're probably pretty sophisticated.
Bjork and Kate Bush.
So maybe they are gay.
Well, I think Nirvana probably was a winner. I'm still rooting for Liz Phair.
Okay, next round came to these four.
I would like them to go Bjork. I think they're going to go Smashing Pumpkins.
Same, actually.
Oh!
Sarah McLachlan. They love the sad girls, just like Michael.
My favorite one.
Michael's audience knows Michael.
While Sarah gently caresses her clavicle, what trends are we observing from 93? The easiest way to look for trends is to look
At the Billboard.
Yeah.
Mom rock is powerful. I think R&B is powerful.
You know what I notice is almost all of the pop on this list is like ballads. There are like Whoomp and Rump Shaker, but those almost don't feel like pop. They're kind of more like
They're
hip
kind
hop.
of novelty songs,
they're
right?
hip-hop, yeah.
They're hip hop, but they're kind of novelty songs.
Yes.
They're crossover,
Right.
like jock jams, right?
So is Informer. If you look at the Mariah Carey being number one, that album was sold on 2 singles, really.
Yeah. Well, you know, that was how it worked back then,
Yeah.
right?
So it was Ace of Base.
For most of pop music history, right? Well, maybe not most at this point, but like up to this time, individual singles were sold, and then you had a couple of singles, and then you'd put together an album with some filler on it and hope to sell the album. At this time, it's like they're not really bothering with singles as much, although it was still a thing.
Yeah.
You had to go to the Tower Records and you had to buy an album for $10 because you liked Dream Lover so much, and then
Right.
you kind of hoped that the rest of the album was worth the $10. But honestly, Dream Lover alone was worth fucking $10.
Yeah, we have Garth Brooks, and though I don't know if any of these Garth Brooks songs did well on the charts and on the country charts, he was selling that album mostly on his personality, on his fame that he already had from the album before
Yeah.
this.
People would have bought that album regardless. Like, there's a new Garth Brooks album. He's my
Right.
favorite.
Of the rest of these, maybe Janet had the She's My Favorite, maybe Aerosmith had that They're My
Yeah,
Favorite.
probably.
But also, both the Aerosmith album and the Janet albums had great singles.
But Ace of Base would have been a brand new
Yes.
artist that nobody had heard before. They heard the sign. It was inescapable. Everybody loved that fucking track.
Yeah. Celine had been around in the US for at least one album before this, but I think they were probably buying that album on The Power of Love.
Tony was another new one.
Yeah, Tony was also brand new, yep. And Tom Petty obviously was a legend by this point.
Yeah.
I think that's about it, right?
That's about it.
All right, so thanks everybody for watching this. Let me know if you have any other thoughts on what music in 93 looked like based on what we talked about today. I'm curious to see any other observations. Please like this video if you liked it. Please give it a pity like anyway if you didn't. It doesn't hurt, it's free.
A super like so that Michael can have money.
Super likes are for streams.
Don't you know anything?
Wait, so how do they give you money?
It's called like a tip or a thanks
Okay,
or something
do
like that.
whatever that is.
I don't know what it is. Since Molly and I talked so much about how much we like that Liz Phair album, if you want to hear us talk about the rest of the album, up here is the video where we do that. Down here is the playlist of music-related videos on the channel, and that should be about it. Maintain your groovy selves.